Today, I'm going to talk about food budgeting and making your food stretch, especially if you're kind of new to the idea of it. A lot of this is just going to be stuff that we did the first half of our marriage and things that I've carried over up until now, 10 years after the first half, just because it became habit. So, one of the things that you probably already know is to cook at home. And I know that that becomes a strain for a lot of reasons for a lot of people. But it is truly the cheapest way to make your food stretch is to cook at home. But it's not just cooking at home because you can be as extravagant as you want or as cheap as you want when it comes to that. It's what you're buying as you're cooking at home. Now, what we did was when we got married, we had small kids. They were, oh, geez, 4 and 6, I believe. So we're right at that age where boys, are very active and wanting to start to eat, and we haven't even gotten to the teenage level yet. So we had to figure out, okay, we're on one income right now. How are we going to make food stretch? All that stuff. Uh, if you can, because I know there's dietary restrictions out there. Pasta is always going to be a great example. But what I would do, because I was also very much wanting to make sure that even though we were eating cheap, I wanted it to be as healthy as possible. So I always had like a salad with pasta, soup. I always had a soup or a salad somewhere with something that we made. And that can be as cheap or as extravagant as you want. Um, but yeah, so like meat sauce instead of getting meat like ground meat and then making meatballs or stuff like that. But you still have the protein in there for the kids if you're a family that eats meat. There's also beef crumbles if you're vegetarian or vegan. Same thing. There's a substitute for everything. Um, so if you're in the comments and you're vegetarian or vegan, and as I'm talking about anything on this list, please feel free to put down any brands that you use. I myself am vegetarian. I've been vegetarian for 18 years, and I'm the only one in this house. So I've had to figure that out, and I'm not going to get into any vegan Nazism. Don't even go there with that. We're not having that in the comments. These are just options. Okay. So pasta was a big part of our life for many years. Like I said, it's a cheap item. You can get. It's been a long time since I bought pasta, but I don't think a box costs more than $1.50. Might be up to $2 at this point. Um, And yeah, and then, if you're at the point where the kids are growing and eating and eating and eating, that's the best option, honestly. Like I said, with the meat sauce and put a salad or a soup to the side. Soup is another one that is a good stretcher. I don't know where this idea came from, but I've come across a couple of people who, I'll use pineapples as an example, just because, but we can use beans too. Oh, I'm talking about soup, so we'll talk about beans. Okay, so you got a can of beans, right? And it comes in the liquid. Don't throw that liquid away. It is not disgusting. The food that you're eating out of it was in there to begin with. Why would you think that that's disgusting? It's part of the food. Make that make sense. I can somebody explain why that would be disgusting to me? I don't know. But the best soups come from saving your stock. I'm going to say this. This is a holdover from the Depression. Came down 3 generations. I'm telling you, save all your juices. So you're cooking potatoes, save that water, put it in a container after it's cooled down. Please don't put it in a plastic container while it's hot. Let it cool down, put it in a plastic container, stick it in the freezer. Label it if you want to or not, unless you know where all your stocks are. You need beans for 3 bean salad or black bean avocado corn salad or something like that. Save that juice. Put it in a Tupperware container. Stick it in the freezer. When you're ready to make soup, you put all that in your stock with a little bit of water because it's going to reduce. I've not had one person on this planet tell me my soup was bad. I'm just telling you. People who don't like soup love my soup. I'm just saying, save your stock. And that also helps your budget and it helps your food stretch because you're not trying to add all this stuff in when you're making a soup. You already have it there and it's got more flavor than whatever that crap is that's in a box that you're buying at the store because that stuff is disgusting. I'm sorry. It's nasty. It doesn't taste right. um, If you are out and like, going out to eat or something like that for whatever reason, and there's buffets nearby and you got kids, buffets, man, that's where it's at when it comes to kids. In the United States, I don't know about other countries because buffets are done a little bit different. It's kind of like a cafeteria where you just pick what you want and then go pay at the end. Here in the States, in most places, the buffet is you eat until you're about to bust, and that is great, especially if you have teenagers. Oh my goodness, please, that it's it'll it's a better way to spend money at that age than going to like a McDonald's or going to a Wendy's or something like that. So that'll help on the road for as far as food stretching with money. Another thing you can do, that we did a lot growing up, and I did it for a little while until I stopped making chicken soups and stuff like that, is if you've got a chicken or a turkey, turkey is probably a good example because Thanksgiving, right? And you've got all this meat left over and the bone left over. One, if you don't have time to deal with it that week, because who does? Take that whole thing, that whole carcass with the meat and everything, stick it in a bag, double bag it, right? And then put it in the freezer until you're ready to use it because you're going to make soup with this, right? So this is another way to get flavor into your soup and to get meat and all that other stuff, the collagen, if you're into that collagen stuff, all that. Take it out, put it in a big pot, fill it halfway up with water and let that thing boil until everything starts falling off. The meat falls off, right? Now, the only caveat is you will sometimes get small bones. So I recommend if you have small children or people who have um, swallowing issues or food issues or something like that, make sure you kind of go through it, with the bone issue. It's not a lot, but it does happen. Um, but you're going to get all that stuff in your soup that you're not really going to. The problem is if you get stocks and stuff from the store, to me, it's considered dead. It's not fresh. Um, it's got all these preservatives and things in it. When you're making it from home, you're getting it fresh. You're not getting the preservatives. It's healthier and it's cheap because you're still using you're giving second life to the thing that you bought. So like the turkey, this is the second life, is using it for a soup. And then rice is always a cheaper option, unless you start getting into like jasmine rice and Thai rice. Is that the same thing? Basmati, things like that. If you're just getting plain old white rice, that's a great thing to add to the soup. Chicken and rice soup, come on, that's basic. So throw that in there. And if you got some veggies that need to go that were in the fridge for a little bit, throw that in there too. Yeah. And then you just need a little salt and pepper, some garlic, onion, boom, you're done. And that will last you a couple meals. Now, if you need to make that stretch, you can go back to the pasta or the salad, um, things like that. So that's one way to stretch a piece of meat, if you will. Same thing with burger meat. If you're making fresh burgers and you got some burger meat left over, you could put that into like, uh, what kind of salads am I thinking of? Like, uh, I hate to say Mexican salads, but honestly, that's the only thing that's coming to my head right now, and that just sounds so bad. But you can always throw like ground beef into something with like beans in it and like some cheese and tomato and all that. Like I said, I haven't had meat in 18 years, so you got to give me a little bit of grace here. I'm thinking here. I'm just trying to come up with ideas to stretch. Pinterest is another great example of ways to make your food stretch. Now, I don't particularly look for recipes that say, hey, if you've got XYZ and you need to make your food stretch, these are some good recipes. What I do is, because I already have some of that knowledge under my belt to begin with, is I go, okay, I've got some beef crumbles and some tomato paste, and they're in the same container with like a little bit of cheese, whatever. What can I add to this if I need ideas? Usually I don't need ideas, but if I do actually have Pinterest boards with food, just to kind of go. If I'm being lazy, I'll look at the Pinterest board and I go, oh, okay, zucchini boats. I've got some zucchini that's going in the fridge, and I really need to use that. So I could take these beef crumbles or this ground meat and mix it with some garlic and whatever, and then just put it on the zucchini throw a little cheese on it, some olive oil. Boom, made a meal. As far as grocery store shopping is concerned, I don't know if every store has this because I my diet is at a point where I'm just exploited. So I do not keep up with these areas, but I know that they exist in many stores as clearance areas for like meat and stuff. Um, so basically, what's going on in your meat section is they're not selling you bad meat. They're selling you meat that's going to age out from the shelf in the store the next day or the day after, because legally they cannot sell at a certain point. It doesn't mean that the food is bad. It's not bad. I worked in food service for 20 years. I'm telling you, it's not bad. It's just that there is a food law. Food laws dictate everything that's going on. So the food law says you cannot sell at this point. It doesn't mean that it's bad after that. But what you do want to do is not buy it and then put like, if you get like a manager special of 12 pack of chicken breast or something, because I used to do this way back in the day for myself. Um, is if you get lucky enough to buy that and it's half price, within a day or two, you do need to figure out how you're going to process that. Usually, what that means is just kind of put it into like break it up into sections and then freeze it. That way, you're pulling out 2 or 3 chicken breasts at a time instead of 12. That kind of just helps you with preparation down the road as you're cooking and stuff. Um, but manager specials are always a good idea as long as you process that stuff right away, and that will help your food stretch. And then another thing that you can do too is try to figure out if you're in a really bad state, um, situation, I should say, uh, is you gotta, and you're worried about your health. You want to make sure that you're healthy, even though you're broke. Um, I've been saying this for years because I did it. Rice, frozen vegetables, and beans. I can tell you 50 different ways to cook with rice, frozen vegetables, and beans because there was a point in my life where, at least for 3 or 4 months, literally, that was all I could afford. And I wanted to be on the healthier side. Frozen vegetables, because when they're frozen, they're locking in vitamins. Now, you get certain vitamins with raw vegetables, you get certain vitamins with frozen one because they're locking in certain types of vitamins and minerals. And sometimes the process of cooking changes into other vitamins and minerals. It's a whole thing, which is why you have to have a varied diet. So I had to pick where I was going to get for me like the most amount of vitamins and minerals and stuff and be satiated at the same time. So that was what I chose. And I'm not kidding when I say I've learned to make soup out of rice, beans, and frozen vegetables. I learned how to make a stoop, which is just a stew with a little bit more liquid with frozen rice, frozen vegetables, beans, and rice. Um, Burger patties. What else have I done? Uh, Made it like a fried rice type of thing. I've done so many things because that's all I had. Because I had $30 for 2 weeks for food. I'm not kidding. Everything that I tell you is something that I've lived. Actually, I had a doctor tell me, "Oh, you've done a lot of stuff in your life." And I was like, "Well, yeah." Some of it wasn't by choice, just saying. Um, but yeah, so I had to do that. And then, like, you kind of have to suck it up sometimes, swallow your pride, and just be like, "Oh, hey, it's Christmas," or "Hey, it's my birthday. Can we get a grocery store gift certificate?" I had to do that. I've done that. And sometimes I got lucky enough to get a big old bag of rice because somebody went to Costco or Sam's Club or something, and I ended up with like a 20-pound bag of rice, and that got me through a lot. Uh, the grocery store gift certificates, that's how I got my meat. And, back when I was still eating like ice cream and stuff, like that would be a treat just to get ice cream because I couldn't afford it. Um, so if you're really, really in a situation, don't be afraid to do that. And then, of course, you also have your food pantries that you can check out too. And as far as I know, they're for everybody. I have not been in a situation where I've gone to food pantries. My mom has, um, but use them. That's what they're there for. And as far as I know, there shouldn't be any judgment. So go check those out if you need to. For my peeps that are gluten free, I feel your pain. I had a gut issue for a couple of years, and I didn't know I was going to heal from it. So I was gluten free for a couple of years, and it sucks being exploited, doesn't it? Food allergies, yeah, you can't go anywhere. I'm not talking celiac because that's a whole nother beast. Um, but like gluten intolerance, and there's no sales, there's no markdowns. What are we doing? Like, I don't have an answer for that one, unfortunately. Hopefully somebody on YouTube does. But as far as having to go gluten free, I mean, if you eat meat, then a lot of these things are going to apply. But if you're vegetarian and gluten free, I know, I know, I know. I was mad because half my protein was taken away. What was I going to do? I was stuck eating tofu all day, all night, and the Gardein beef crumbles. Yeah, like that was basically my whole diet. That sucked. Yeah, so I don't have any advice for food stretching with that, except rice and beans and frozen vegetables. God, with some tofu in there if you eat tofu. Yeah, it's just I wish the world would do better when it comes to us with food allergies. Like I said, I'm no longer gluten free. I do kind of hybrid that way a little bit though, just because I got used to it. Vegetarian, it's a little bit better. You can stretch a little bit more. But again, the alternate meats, there's no sales. The price keeps going up. We're just kind of screwed. So I think, at that point, we just kind of have to do the best we can with that. And what I personally do, just to make food stretch a little bit, is like I said, with saving all the stock water, I still do that. In fact, I take up a whole shelf in the freezer, and my family sometimes gets mad because they can't find room for their stuff. And I'm like, we have a deep freezer with shelving, it's a stand up kind. And yeah, I take up a whole shelf, and I'm like, that's food, shut up. So, I mean, that's one way that I actively make stuff stretch. And then I just kind of have to cut down on the amount of the proteins that I'm using because, like I said, there's no sales. We don't get markdowns. Um, so, like a block of tofu, I got to try to make it last for 3 servings. Or it used to be like, back in the day, like maybe 2 servings. Um, yeah, like we need help. We need sales. We need to not be exploited. That's all I got for that. Another thing that I do to try to save on cost of food, and the initial cost is a little bit on the higher side, is gardening. Not everybody wants to be a gardener, and I think sometimes in our heads, gardening is like this big, extravagant whatever. It doesn't have to be that way. It can be as big or as small as you want, and you'd be surprised the type of containers that you can reuse for gardening. Just to get started, all you need is like a bag of dirt. Let me be specific about the bag of dirt. You want Some people are gonna be mad that I'm saying Miracle Grow, but honestly, I have been gardening for 19 years. Get some Miracle Grow. Unless you're really good at making your own compost to start, get some Miracle Grow to get started. Just get a bag, and then as far as containers, you can't afford to get pots and all that stuff, fancy and whatever. Do you use feta? Use that container. Pop some holes in the bottom so that's like the so it can drain, and you got yourself a container to start your seeds in. And then you can kind of go up from there. If you work in a restaurant, God, you got food safe buckets and stuff you're throwing away every single day. Half my stuff is food grade. Why? Because I worked in food service for 20 years. So anytime we're throwing anything out, yeah, my pantry is full of stuff from working in cafeterias, restaurants, whatever. You can use those to grow your food in too. The only thing you want to be sure of is that if you're growing anything like tomatoes, um, uh, tomatoes have deep roots. So if you're going to use a container, something caught my eye. If you're going to use a container to grow food in, that's like a tomato or something with deep roots, carrots, anything like that, you want to make sure you have at least a 12-inch clearance for that. Um, Otherwise, your tomato plant's going to, what's the word I'm looking for? The roots are going to compound on each other, and it's not good for the plant, and it'll die off. Um, Anything that's like the mushroom containers, you can use that to make sprouts. You don't have to throw any of that away. Just put. I don't even think you need drain holes for sprouts. Just put like a layer of paper towel, small layer of dirt, throw your seeds on. You've got sprouts. I'm not going to go through how to grow all these things here because this is not the channel for it. But there are plenty of gardening channels out there that you can look up this information. Um, but yeah, your food containers make great pots for starting out seedlings. And then you can just move up from there. Now, some people may get turned off by this idea, but kitty kitty litter containers also work. Just make sure you wash it really well. Um, the kind that you actually get the litter in. Don't use the kind that they're going to the bathroom. Let's use some common sense here. Um, but you can use those containers. Just wash it out really well. Throw some drain holes on the bottom. Those are perfect for zucchinis and tomatoes and carrots. You can. What else is deep? Okra, stuff like that. Potatoes. Put potatoes in there too. So you just have to think outside the box a little bit when it comes to that. But a lot of stuff that you buy in the store, you can also make stretch, like your chives, green onions. Those things will regrow at least once or twice. You just put them in the dirt, make sure it's well watered, and in a few days to like a week or so, you get like a new shoot or something, and that'll help stretch it. You're not going to get a whole new plant. That's not how the plant works. It's probably not even going to go to seed, but you'll at least get a little bit more with the greens when you do it that way. If you've got potatoes that you've bought from the store and they're starting to get eyes on them, I do this all the time. I do not buy seed potato, but like if you can afford it, get organic potato because those ones will go to with the eyes on it a lot faster. And then you only need like a small piece with the eye on it. Stick it in the dirt, you'll get potatoes in a few months. Now they're not going to be the same size. I do want to warn you about that. They will be smaller, which is probably why they tell you to buy seed potatoes from the gardening place, like wherever you're going to get your seeds and stuff. But if you're making your food stretch, that's one way you can make your food stretch is get, one of those food safe containers, put drain holes in it, and then shave off like, with a little bit of flesh on it. You need a good half inch, I would say, of flesh attached to the seed part and just stick it in the dirt and you'll get potatoes. So that's one way to get them to stretch too. So obviously we're at a point now in my family where we're not as broke as we used to be. But there's a lot of things that I still do to make the food stretch. Like I said, saving soup stock, the gardening, and all that. So those are things that we have carried over through the years. Also, we're very careful about what we bring into the house. That's where you have to really take stock of what you have. Sometimes I've let it slip, and now I've got 4 bottles of balsamic vinegar. And I go through a bottle of balsamic vinegar like once every 2 years. Don't be dumb like that. Go through your pantry, make sure you've if you need a backup of stuff, make sure you have that, obviously, but like you got to make sure you know what you have because you don't want to keep repeat buying things and then you put stuff away and you go, "Damn, why do I have 5 bottles of ketchup?" It's because I wasn't looking. I thought I needed it because in the one in the fridge is almost empty, so I thought I needed it. Well, I didn't look in the pantry to see that I had 5 bottles of ketchup. So make sure you know what you have before you go to the store and get it. There are apps that you can use that will give you like some cash back when you go shopping. I am not an. I've noticed that I bought it, for example. They a lot of it is name brand. They have a few things that's just any brand, but a lot of it is name brand, and I don't buy that stuff, so I don't usually come away making a whole lot of money. But if you're somebody who has to name brand certain things, or you really like the coupon or something like that, you probably already know about Ibotta or Fetch or things like that. But that's a good one to use to get some money back. Uh, you need to check out how you get your withdrawals though, because I think with Fetch they do gift cards, and I don't know how much you need before you do that. I tried Fetch, I didn't really care for it. Um, I've been on Ibotta forever. You have to do it in $20 increments, but depending on how much you shop and what you get back, with the whole list of stuff that they have available for the stores that you go to, you might get $20 back once a month. That'll help you for whatever you need. They just stick it in your bank account. So that's something that you can work with as well. So that's all I have for today. If anything resonated with you, please give it a like, and think about subscribing. And oh, I should probably ask you, if you've done anything to stretch out your food, put down in the comments. I'd like to hear what you're doing, what your family's doing, and things like that. All right. I will see you later. Bye.